The three major forces of Daze City intended to encroach on our Tianhai City's territory and resources, and ignoring our strong protests, they directly sent out a large force to attack. In the end, under the tenacious resistance of all the Tianhai City mutants, they were all annihilated here. We acted reasonably and legally in accordance with our heart to defend our homeland, as well as the basic guidelines you issued at the founding meeting of the Jiangnan Superpower Federation. Resolutely blocking all incoming enemies. To achieve the high standards and strict requirements of being able to fight, knowing how to fight, and winning battles. Zhu Zheng's head was spinning from listening. Stop. Where did you learn to yap so much? So, the mutants in Daze City were really exterminated by you guys? Zhang Yi nodded. That's right. I have evidence in my hands of their active aggression against us, and I will immediately send it to the region and ask the leaders to judge it for us. This was not what Zhu Zheng was interested in. Judging from the trajectory of actions, the Daze City Mutant Alliance's invasion of Tianhai City was already an undeniable fact. This was a tick on the head of a bald man, something that was obvious in plain sight. It was just that he didn't understand how Tianhai City did it so cleanly. Close to 1,000 people, including many powerful mutants, had been wiped out completely without a trace. Not even the remnants of the battlefield were found by them. How did you guys do this? The three major mutant organizations in Daze City aren't weak. Zhu Zheng asked curiously. Zhang Yi smiled. Commander Zhu, we have our own secrets. This is the foundation we rely on to survive, so please forgive me for not being able to reveal it. Because you are also aware of the current situation in Tianhai City, we need to have the means to save our lives. Zhu Zheng raised an eyebrow. Oh? Keeping it a secret from us as well? Zhang Yi insisted. Please forgive us, we dare not take any risks, this is not showing disrespect to you. Zhu Zheng nodded after a moment of silence. Alright, it's just that my curiosity is very heavy. The smile at the corner of Zhang Yi's mouth intensified. Zhu Zheng was reminding Zhang Yi that he would investigate this matter. However, Zhang Yi vowed that Zhu Zheng would not be able to investigate this anytime soon. This was because no one could imagine that a mutant of Zhang Yi's level existed in Tianhai City. In the eyes of those people in Jiangnan region, only they would be able to cultivate top-level mutants there. Even if the supernaturals in the outer cities were not low in level, they were far inferior to Blizzard City in terms of overall strength. Out of nowhere, Zhu Zheng had a sudden realization. He said to Zhang Yi, come back to Blizzard City in the next 2 days. There's something I need you to do. Zhang Yi's smile froze on his face. Go over again? That. We just finished a battle, we still have a lot of things to do. A smirk flashed across Zhu Zheng's eyes. Just come over yourself. He increasingly sensed that he had underestimated Zhang Yi in the first place. There must be certain secrets hidden in this brat's body. Then this time, for the Linhai City operation, he had to be brought along. At the very least, he was extremely good at defense and possessed the strength of an elite investigation squad member, so letting him go over there would definitely help. Zhang Yi rubbed his head. He hated these troubles too much. May I ask, what exactly is the reason for asking me to go over there again? It was natural that he had to go, but he also had to know what it was for so he could be prepared. Zhu Zheng exhaled a deep breath of turbid air and said in a deep voice, the first batch of mutant organizations that were sent to Linhai City were all wiped out. What? How could this happen? Zhang Yi told Zhu Zheng, I'll make my way over there as soon as possible. Zhang Yi decided to head to Blizzard City with little hesitation. If his strength was needed in this matter, he would not stay out of it while ensuring his own safety. At the very least, he would not feel at ease until he knew that those Ronin were completely eliminated. Otherwise, from now on, there would be no more peace in this land. With the first batch, there would surely be a second and third batch. As long as an opening was made, the neighboring forces that were eyeing and coveting the resources of the continent would come like locusts. Whether it was from the aspect of righteousness or from his own self-interest, he had to make the trip. Zhu Zheng did not ask Zhang Yi to bring along all of Tianhai City's elites. After all, the cities also needed to leave some of their forces behind for defense. However, Zhang Yi decided to bring a few people with him after some thought. This was for security reasons. In case he encountered any situation, it was still convenient to use his own people. So he called out everyone in the shelter to gather in the middle of the living room. The 10 inhuman organizations sent over by the 12 outer cities have all been wiped out by mutant now. Now that the Jiangnan region has summoned me over, I plan to bring 2 people with me. Zhang Yi reached out and pointed at Liang Yu. This did not surprise the crowd in the slightest. In today's shelter, Liang Yu was the second most powerful combatant after Zhang Yi. Although her ability was only an ordinary enhancement, she herself was a strong martial arts master, hence her outstanding combat power. Just as everyone was thinking about who the second candidate would be, Zhang Yi carried Flower over with one hand. The second one, naturally, is Flower. Unexpected, yet reasonable. Flower's combat power was probably comparable to Liang Yu's. Uncle Yu frowned and pointed to his nose. Zhang Yi, what about us? Are you planning to leave us behind this time and face the danger all by yourself? It's a matter of family and national honor. As a veteran, I absolutely cannot sit back and do nothing. Fatty Su hesitated for a moment and also clenched his fists. We've carried whatever problems we've had together in the past, and this time we also wish to help you. Zhang Yi stroked Flower's silky fur, and a gentle smile appeared on his face. Your intentions are good. However, this is war, not a game of brotherhood. Each of the 10 mutant organizations sent over in the first round is not much different from the base forces in Tianhai City. They were led by all mutant leaders of the Delta level. Even with such a huge lineup, they were all killed by the Ronin. Do you guys think you can beat those Neons if you go over there? Zhang Yi's gaze swept over Uncle Yu's and the group of people in a flat manner. Uncle Yu's complexion was a bit gloomy. His supernatural level was only at the level 3 gamma level, and in the past, he had acted as a meat shield in the middle of the battle. However, as Zhang Yi became stronger and stronger, Liang Yu and Flower also grew rapidly through their co-consumption abilities. His role as a combatant among the team became smaller and smaller. This made him feel a little guilty. Fatty Su was fine, he was used to being carefree and was more responsible for controlling the scene on the battlefield. If he didn't need to fight, he would be happy. Anyway, he was already laying flat. Boss, if you don't want me to fight, I won't go. Zhang Yi sensed Uncle Yu's loss, and after thinking about it, he changed his words and said, this time, we're just going over there to understand the situation in Linhai City first. If we need help when the time comes, I'll contact you guys again and let you go over there. To the people of the 3 major bases, Zhang Yi did indeed have this intention. Although the 3 major bases had fallen, there were still some strong mutants who were still alive. In particular, Xing Tian and Xiao Holian both possessed Delta-level strength. It was only that if it wasn't necessary, he would rather put these 2 on guard in Tianhai City to avoid any accidents. But for Uncle Yu's statement, it was just a matter of comforting him. There was no need for too many words either. Between adult males, too much comforting would instead hurt his self-esteem. Only then did Uncle Yu's eyes light up. Well then, you must remember to call me over when the time comes. Zhang Yi smiled slightly, definitely. Why do I feel that this operation will become extremely dangerous? Zhou Qir sat near Zhang Yi's hand, frowning her pretty brows with a worried look. Are the opponents this time that scary? Didn't they say there were only 13 of them? Zhang Yi silently shook his head. I don't have any information about them, so naturally, there's nothing to go on. However, I believe that after this battle, the Jiangnan region definitely collected information about them. We'll know when we go over there and take a look. Yang Xie tightly wrapped her arms around him, her soft body next to his, and sighed lightly, going off to war again. I'm really worried that something will happen to you. Now, Zhang Yi had become the backbone of everyone in the shelter. Only when Zhang Yi was around could they live a peaceful life. No one wanted anything to happen to him. Zhang Yi smiled faintly and reached out to put his arm around her soft waist, feeling her marvelous figure. Don't worry about it, I know in my heart what to do when the time comes. I, Zhang Yi, have a rule of life: if I reach the world, I will help the world; if I am poor, I will be alone. When the time comes, I will act under the premise of protecting myself and will not try to be a hero. And this time, it's the Jiangnan region that's leading the charge, so it's definitely the investigation team that will be the main force. We'll just be fighting to support them. After a brief explanation, Zhang Yi put on his equipment and immediately planned to set off. After communicating with Lan Xinqing on his side, Blizzard City's special train would drive over to pick him up and take him there. Soon after, he was preparing to leave the shelter with Liang Yu, who was also heavily armed, to drive the snowmobile to the station. Before walking to the car, Zhang Yi sent a message to Xing Tian, Xiao Honglian and Chen Jingguan, telling them about the situation in Linhai City. He also told them to get ready and go over to support them at any time. It was impossible for Zhang Yi to be in the front while they were enjoying their leisure in the back. Zhang Yi would not allow this to happen. Zhang Yi was making many phone calls, calmly reminding several of them to pay attention to their defenses while he was away. Although the mutants in Days City had been completely wiped out, the other cities may not be so pure either. Of course, the first thing Zhang Yi did after he went to Blizzard City was to ask Zhu Jing to assure him that he would not allow any forces to invade Tianhai City. At the very least, he had to give a guarantee of security during the time he was away. Only when the security of the rear was guaranteed could Zhang Yi deal with the Neon Ronin without any worries. Liang Yu slowly walked behind Zhang Yi. Liang Yu looked at Zhang Yi's side face from time to time as they were walking out, looking a bit anxious to speak. Zhang Yi was naturally able to detect her abnormality. So after ending the call, he put down the satellite phone and faintly asked, "Do you have something to say? You can just say it straight out." Liang Yu frowned slightly and did not drag her feet as she inquired, "Zhang Yi, will there ever be a day when those of us around you have no more value to you and you abandon us?"